Human eye. The human eye is a complex and highly specialized organ responsible for receiving and processing visual information. It is roughly spherical in shape and measures approximately 25 mm in diameter. The main components of the human eye include cornea, iris, pupil, lens, retina, optic nerve, vitreous humor, sclera, choroid, cornea. The clear, dome-shaped outer layer of the eye that helps to focus incoming light. The cornea is the transparent, dome-shaped surface that forms the front of the human eye. It covers the iris, pupil, and anterior chamber, and it plays a crucial role in focusing light onto the retina at the back of the eye. The cornea is made up of 5 distinct layers. Epithelium, the outermost layer of the cornea, which serves as a protective barrier against foreign particles, such as dust or bacteria. Bowman's layer, a thin, dense layer of collagen fibers that provides structural support to the cornea. Stroma, the thickest layer of the cornea, made up of collagen fibers arranged in a precise, parallel pattern that gives the cornea its transparency. Descemet's membrane, a thin layer of collagen fibers that separates the stroma from the endothelium. Endothelium, the innermost layer of the cornea, which pumps fluid out of the stroma to maintain its clarity. The cornea has no blood vessels and gets its nutrients from the aqueous humor, a clear fluid that circulates through the anterior chamber of the eye. It is highly sensitive to pain and can become damaged by injury, infection, or disease. In some cases, a damaged cornea may require a corneal transplant to restore vision. Iris. The colored part of the eye that controls the size of the pupil, which regulates the amount of light entering the eye. The iris is a part of the human eye. It is a thin, circular, pigmented muscle that lies between the cornea and the lens. The iris is responsible for regulating the size of the pupil, which is the black circular opening in the center of the iris. The iris is made up of 2 layers of muscle fibers, the sphincter pupil layer and the dilator pupil layer. The sphincter pupil layer is responsible for constricting the pupil in bright light, while the dilator pupil layer is responsible for dilating the pupil in dim light. The iris also contains pigmented cells, which give the iris its color. The color of the iris varies from person to person and can range from brown to blue to green. The iris plays an important role in vision because it controls the amount of light that enters the eye. In bright light, the iris constricts the pupil to reduce the amount of light that enters the eye, while in dim light, the iris dilates the pupil to allow more light to enter the eye. This helps to maintain a consistent level of light in the eye and ensures that the retina receives the appropriate amount of light to produce a clear image. Pupil. The dark circular opening in the center of the iris through which light enters the eye. The pupil is the opening at the center of the human eye that allows light to enter. It appears black because the light entering the eye is absorbed by the tissues inside the eye, rather than reflecting back out. The size of the pupil is controlled by the iris, the colored part of the eye that surrounds the pupil. The iris contains muscles that can contract or relax to change the size of the pupil, depending on the amount of light entering the eye. In bright light, the iris contracts to make the pupil smaller, while in dim light, the iris relaxes to make the pupil larger, allowing more light to enter the eye. Lens. A transparent, flexible structure located behind the iris that helps to focus incoming light onto the retina. The human eye has a lens. The lens plays an important role in focusing light onto the retina, which is the light-sensitive layer at the back of the eye. The shape of the lens can be changed by the action of the ciliary muscles, which allows the eye to focus on objects at different distances. When looking at objects that are far away, the ciliary muscles relax, causing the lens to flatten and allowing light to be focused onto the retina. When looking at objects that are close up, the ciliary muscles contract, causing the lens to become more rounded and increasing its refractive power. The ability of the lens to change shape and adjust its focus is known as accommodation, and it is a critical aspect of the human visual system. The lens also helps to filter out certain wavelengths of light and to protect the retina from harmful radiation. Retina. A thin layer of tissue at the back of the eye that contains photoreceptor cells called rods and cones, which convert light into electrical signals that are transmitted to the brain via the optic nerve, which then interprets them as visual images. The retina is essential for vision and plays a crucial role in the visual processing system. The human retina contains two main types of photoreceptor cells, rods and cones. Rods are responsible for detecting dim light and are mainly concentrated in the outer regions of the retina, while cones are responsible for detecting color and fine detail and are mainly concentrated in the center of the retina, in a small area called the macula. The macula contains a high density of cone cells, which allows for high acuity vision and color discrimination. The retina also contains other specialized cells, including bipolar cells, which transmit signals from the photoreceptors to the ganglion cells, and horizontal and amacrine cells, which help to refine and modulate these signals. The ganglion cells then transmit the visual information to the brain via the optic nerve. Optic nerve, a bundle of nerve fibers that carries visual information from the retina to the brain. The optic nerve is one of the 12 cranial nerves. It is located at the back of the eye and is composed of over 1 million nerve fibers that originate from the ganglion cells in the retina. The optic nerve emerges from the back of the eye through the optic disc, also known as the blind spot, which is a small area on the retina that lacks photoreceptor cells. The optic nerve then travels through the bony orbit and enters the skull through the optic canal, where it joins with the opposite optic nerve to form the optic chiasm. At the optic chiasm, some of the fibers from each optic nerve cross over to the opposite side of the brain, while others remain on the same side. After the optic chiasm, the optic nerve fibers continue as the optic tracts and synapse in the lateral geniculate nucleus of the thalamus, which is a relay center for visual information. From there, the visual information is further processed and transmitted to the primary visual cortex in the occipital lobe of the brain, where it is interpreted as visual perception. Vitreous humor, a clear, gel-like substance that fills the space between the lens and the retina. It makes up about 80% of the eye's volume and is composed mostly of water, along with collagen fibers, hyaluronic acid, and other proteins. The vitreous humor helps to maintain the shape of the eye and provides support for the retina, which is the part of the eye that receives visual signals and sends them to the brain. It also helps to transmit light through the eye to the retina. As a person ages, the vitreous humor can shrink and become more liquefied, which can cause it to pull away from the retina. This is a common condition called posterior vitreous detachment, which can cause floaters or flashes of light in the vision. In some cases, this can lead to retinal tears or detachment, which can cause vision loss if not treated promptly. Overall, the vitreous humor plays an important role in the function and health of the human eye. Sclera, the white, outer layer of the eye that helps to protect and maintain the shape of the eyeball. The sclera is the tough, outer layer of the eye that covers the eyeball except for the cornea. It is made up of dense, fibrous connective tissue. The sclera is often referred to as the white of the eye because it appears white due to its opaque nature. It also helps to maintain the shape of the eye and provides attachment points for the muscles that control eye movement. The sclera is pierced by the optic nerve at the back of the eye and by blood vessels that supply the eye with nutrients and oxygen. Some medical conditions can cause the sclera to become discolored or inflamed, which can affect vision and require treatment. Choroid, a layer of tissue located between the sclera and the retina that contains blood vessels that supply oxygen and nutrients to the retina, which is essential for vision. The choroid also helps to absorb excess light that enters the eye, which can prevent glare and improve visual clarity.